Welcome to the Iron Edge, the podcast all about unlocking your full potential inside and out of the gym. Today's guest is the founding father of CERBERUS Strength, Calum Liptrot. Cal, thanks for coming over. When this podcast goes out, I'll be a married man. Cal is actually over for my wedding this weekend. Thanks for taking the trip from Romania over here. First off, how are you feeling after 30 plus hours of travel?
Well, it's, I'm a seasoned traveler now, but the States is always a long haul. So, I'm pretty tired, but I'm excited to be here. Obviously coming to your wedding. I brought my wife with me. It's her first time to the States, so she's pretty excited. Perfect. So, all good.
So let's just get rolling. So obviously, 2012, CERBERUS Strength started in the UK. Let's just get into an origin story. So how did the UK set of stuff start?
Okay, it's a complicated start. It's not a straightforward, right, let's start CERBERUS and this is our clear vision for how things are going to go. It was almost by accident. So I had another business at the time and we were sponsoring a lot of different sports in relation to that business. So we had stuff to do with superbikes. We then sponsored some MMA contests. And that's what kind of got me thinking, because I was spending a lot of money. I was burning through money like water, sponsoring these things. And I think a lot of businesses fall into that trap where the owner is passionate about something and then wants to be involved somehow and just starts throwing money at things to try and be involved, or even in a lot of cases on a sort of personal level, they just want to be something to do with that. And it got my mind thinking, right, this is unsustainable. I cannot just keep on giving money to these type of things. I've got to sort of try and make some sort of return that I can reinvest and make this self-fulfilling. And at the time we were quite involved in the MMA scene. And we developed a mouth guard. That was our first product. And we were looking for names for this mouth guard. We're doing our marketing and our sort of brainstorming. And funny enough, we came up with the name CERBERUS then. And based on the Greek mythology, Kerberos, protection, all that type of stuff. The whole idea was obviously a mouth guard is to protect your mouth. So the CERBERUS mouth guard, the clues in the name if you're into that type of stuff. So we went quite heavy into it because I don't know if it's OCD or just perfectionism. But when I try and develop a product, well, it's apparent when we do stuff with the CERBERUS products now. We go all in and we make the best that we can. So anyway, we made this amazing mouth guard. It's called the CERBERUS mouth guard, and we even the CERBERUS logo font that you see today on all that we use currently was made specifically for that mouth guard product. And anyway, that mouth guard was a total failure. The timing was totally off on it. It was right about the time that boil and bite stopped being a thing, and everyone was going for custom fit mouth guards. And also I learned the hard lesson of a totally unknown brand. Just because you're involved in the scene doesn't mean anything to anybody. Mm-hmm. Just because you're selling something and you've got a brand doesn't mean people are going to buy from you whatsoever. So it failed spectacularly. So I think 5 years afterwards, I was so confident at the time that I bought so much stock. I think it took me about 5 or 6 years to clear them out. In the end, I sold them less than cost.
Jesus.
So total disaster on that front. But as it so happens, as they say, certain things happen for a reason. So when it came to, if we fast forward a bit, I'll come back to this. But so how CERBERUS as a thing happened from that was at the time, it was roughly about 2010. We were in office accommodation, the previous business I had. And just for those who don't know, my previous background's in IT. So which is a lot of transferable skills into running a business, which is quite good when you understand the technical aspect, especially in e-commerce and all the rest of it. So yeah, we were looking for new accommodation. The landlord that we were renting, we were in a very nice office building. The landlord was very dodgy, it turned out, stole our deposit, went bust, left us high and dry. We had to find a new place pretty quick. And a guy who used to work for me and who I'd known quite well, Gavin Laird, he had his own gym in Inverness, and at the time there weren't many gyms in Inverness, and he approached me at the same time, just coincidentally, looking for some investment in this gym. And I was like, right, well, it's not something I didn't have a passion for investing in gyms at the time, but I did need new office space. So I kind of said, look, I'm going to invest in this gym. I'll give you what you're looking for. But I want some office space in this gym. So, just carve out a section of the gym, and that's going to be where I'll build my office space. Yeah. So yeah, that's how that happened. So that's how I ended up inside a gym, which was the precursor for Cerberus becoming what it is today. Because that gym was a sort of strongman powerlifting focused gym. It was very much a sort of spit and sawdust, no frills. You didn't know if you're going to, do a workout or die that night. So yeah, it was good. It was good. And, that was when I started training strongman myself personally and took an interest in it. And my business partner in the UK, Peter McDonald-Brown, he was very much into strongman. And, I've got him to thank for sort of my interest in the strongman side of things. And a lot of other people do too, and I'll come to them in a minute. So there we were in this gym with our new office space. And I don't know, you're in proximity of things, you have ideas. I'd started training strongman, Peter was already training strongman. And what we found was that at the time, there was very little choice in terms of what you could buy, especially on the supportive side of things. Never mind sort of strongman implements. You think it's hard to buy stuff now. It's totally different to what it was back then. Back in the day, for those who are old enough will know that it was very much a sort of, everything was cobbled together. It was very much, if you think it's a niche sport now, it was super niche back in the day. So basically, you didn't have much of a choice. A lot of the stuff you had to buy was from abroad, whether it's in the UK, it was either you had to buy stuff from Europe or America. But even then, I wouldn't say that I was happy with any of the quality or the performance of the stuff that you could buy. So anyway, so as far as I use the word guilty pleasure a lot, because Cerberus, in a way, is a guilty pleasure, because everything we make, we use ourselves, which is just fantastic. I couldn't think of a better business to have where you get to use everything you design and produce yourselves. Yeah. And then you improve based on that, based on your own feedback and of thousands of people around the world and the world's top athletes. So yeah, no, very, very happy that we've got the opportunity to do this type of stuff. So anyway, so our first, product that was actually more for the market that we're now in was a set of wrist straps. I think we did some very basic lifting straps as well. And I don't know, I was still kind of stuck in this MMA phase of my life. And we did some hand wraps too, just while we're at it, because I was still clinging on to this thought of like trying to get rid of these mouth guards, and maybe if I bundled some hand wraps with them, maybe someone would buy them, But anyway, so there we were. We had our wrist straps. Myself and Peter were using them. A few of our friends in the gym used them as well. And I suppose yourself, when you're part of a gym, your friend group is largely in that gym. You see those people all the time. You get to know and trust them. And, we'd be using our wrist straps, I'll use that as an example, and people are like, oh, I've not seen those ones before, what are those? And, people would try them out and they'd be like, well, can we buy some? And because we'd made more than we actually needed, just because of minimum order quantities and, go into intricacies of manufacturing and all the rest of it. But so we had a bunch spare. We had a box in the back where we had some, some of it was samples, some of it was stuff that we got made in this production run. But we weren't really thinking big at that time. We had other business, and that was doing well. weren't really focusing on Cerberus as a passion yet. So anyway, it's very much a sort of a fairy tale, so to speak, in that way, in that people that used our stuff loved it. People who'd visit the gym on a day pass would be like, oh, have you got any of those wrist straps? I saw one of the guys wearing, can I buy some? Because you've got to bear in mind as well that, internet shopping back in 2010 was very different to what it is now. There was no Amazon Prime, there was no next day delivery, so to speak, especially where we were, which is in the Highlands of Scotland.
Yep.
So yeah, it kind of just went from that. And then we just, one day we realized this box is empty, but also at the same time, we were using these wrist straps and lifting straps and stuff. And we're like, right, what else would be nice? Now let's get some, we want some new, Pete needed new elbow sleeves. And I was like, listen, Pete, let's make our own again. Because I actually really enjoyed, this is the part I enjoy about Cerberus is making these new products and doing the development side of things and the design and, the aesthetics, but also performance and I like the technical side of the materials as well and all that. So let's make our own, because I was like, well, I can actually do with some, because I was using a pair of hand-me-downs that Pete had given me. So yeah, let's make some. So we did, and it wasn't easy. It's not particularly easy making new stuff these days, but it was even more difficult back then. And the access to certain materials and things was a lot different too. So yeah, so anyway, long story short, we made these elbow sleeves, and we made the knee sleeves at the same time because, those were the dual ply ones. And I think I still use my original pair to this day. And so it's funny because I mention it to a few people and they're like, yeah, me too, actually, me too. So that's always good to hear. But yeah, following on, keeping the timeline of the story, yeah, that was another product that was a success. And we ran into our first problem with selling products that are sized, in that we sold out of the sizes that most people wore. And we ended up with a bunch of sizes that not many people wore, but we made big sizes because, strongmen are big guys and you need to. And that's another thing that was missing in the market. There weren't big, freakish sizes for guys to wear. And, it was a huge, huge gap in the market that was missing. But yeah, so in terms of this problem, so then we had to order more. And then we ran into our same problem with the minimum order quantities. And if you're going to buy X amount of materials, you may as well buy this amount, so the economies of scale. And this component of the this type of let's say thread, for example, you need to buy so many bobbins of it or reels. And so yeah, we learned a lot of lessons then. But it was kind of new and exciting, so we sort of relished the challenge. So around about that time when we sort of had a basic range, so to speak, elbow sleeves, knee sleeves, wrist straps, lifting straps, mouth guards. we were like, right, I'd got the bug by that point, and I think I'd done a few amateur shows and some gym comps and stuff, and that was one of the nice things that I really liked about this gym, was that we did a lot of gym comps, and I think that's the origin for the love of Strongman for a lot of people, is where they did a sort of first-timers comp, or they did some sort of, feat of strength and just got the bug, and they loved it, and they loved training for it. Even, a lot of people don't train for it and enjoy it, and that's another side that's quite nice. And so we had things were going, and we were like, listen, this is great, but there wasn't enough of what we loved going on.
Yeah.
So we were like, right, listen, we want to grow the sport. How do we grow the sport? Because the other two sports we were involved in were, boxing, MMA, motorsports, that type of stuff. The sort of only way to grow that was just throw money at it. Mm-hmm. But it felt very unfulfilling because it just felt like you weren't necessarily making a difference, as a sponsor in that type of environment. If you're not sponsoring that, someone else will be, and it makes absolutely zero difference what logo's on what. But in Strongman, we had an opportunity to improve the sport, grow the sport, make more opportunities available for athletes. And we had an opportunity. Things had happened for a reason. The stars had aligned in a certain way. And we were like, let's go for this now. Let's go for this, because we've got some stock to sell. We really enjoyed Strongman. A lot of the powerlifting dudes in the gym would do some of the Strongman comps for a laugh. It was just a really, I don't know, it's almost, when you talk about the golden age of bodybuilding and stuff, It felt like the golden age of Strongman. We were at a sort of a point where things could really take off and be exciting again. It was sort of the start of the build-up from, where Strongman had fallen in popularity, and it's sort of become a very niche, unknown thing that sort of only weirdos or strange freaks did. And, you had to explain what it was to people. Nobody knew what it was when you spoke about Strongman. And there's that like powerlifting stuff, and you had to explain it, and then you started mentioning circus stuff and all the rest of it. It just made it sound even more weird. Yeah. So we were really at that sort of that amazing start point where we could really sort of make a difference and take things forward. So we speaking of origins, so in the gym, we were very fortunate. In some places in the world, they either say there's something in the water, or there's something special in the air. But we had Donna Moore training with us. We had Luke Stoltman training with us. We had Tom Parks when he was in Inverness. He would come and train with us. And later on, it would be Tom Stoltman, Zaki Maluzi. I won't skip too forward in time, but so we decided, right, we're going to actually sponsor some athletes to sort of, that was going to be our contribution to trying to grow the sport, because one of the barriers for Strongman was, because it was so niche and so unknown, getting to shows or buying the equipment was so expensive. And it was a barrier for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the first two people we sponsored was Donna Moore and Luke Stoltman. And I'll speak about Donna first. She was she used to go to a gym called Fitness First, where Peter was the general manager, and Pete was sort of training her, and he learned very, very soon, very early on, that she had something special, and she was just a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal natural athlete at the time. And they kept in touch, and then when she moved to the Forge, she did some training in the Forge, and so we sponsored her. And so at the very least, at least she wouldn't have to worry about the supportive side of equipment type of things. And so that was a nice, the nice thing about having your own business is that you get to call the shots. You're not stuck in this sort of corporate environment where you get a word from above. This is what you have to do, and this is who we're paying to do X, Y, and Z. And even if you don't like the person, you just have to go ahead with it. Whereas we're very fortunate with Cerberus is that we only work with people we like. Mm-hmm. And I've had some opportunities to sponsor some people, and I just didn't like. Don't know what the word in America is. The words in America, the phrase in America, and just in the UK, you'd say didn't like the cut of their jib. So anyway, Donna, myself, and Pete got on very, very well, and she was my first female strength athlete. And I can talk on this a bit later, but that was a very frustrating time if you're a female in terms of opportunities that were available. And that's one of the things that we've been sort of campaigning. And finally, we've got somewhere in the last few years is the opportunities for female athletes in strongman. So yeah, and then I'll talk briefly about Luke. Luke was a friend of ours. We'd done a few sort of gym comps, and he was just this crazy big bodybuilding type guy, and it was just, he did some of these little strongman comps, but they weren't technically comps. The first ones, they were sort of like, one was like, I think it was a deadlift competition. I think it was called Dawn of the Dead or something like that. And we also did some sort of I think it was called a Ubermensch competition, but it was sort of like, I think it was bench and bicep curls or something crazy like that. But that was Gavin's creations, but they were great fun events to do. And anyway, Luke and Pete became good friends before I was really pally with him. And Pete sort of encouraged him, right, listen, dude, you're really good at this strongman stuff. Look, I know you want to look good with your shirt off and everything, but you're really good at this stuff. I think you should go for it. And he sort of started coming to train in the Forge and do some actual strongman training. And from the start, himself and later Tom were just phenomenally good at stones. Just it was actually depressing to watch if you'd been training for any length of time before meeting them. So and at the time, Luke he worked offshore. Yeah. And he sort of said to Pete, listen, can you look after my brother and, keep him right in the gym while I'm offshore? And Pete started giving Tom a bit of coaching, and I trained with Tom a bit, and they're probably the most brutal workouts of my life. And my sort of traumatic memory of them, I remember just spewing in the car park most times, just because I was just struggling to keep up with him. He was just so, the strength and the volume of work he could do was just mental. Anyway, and then Tom Parks, I was personally a friend with Tom. He was part of my friend group with myself, Tom, and another guy, Rob Rose. And we used to train together, and it was very much sort of bodybuilding stuff. But then when he started getting into the strongman side of things, and I think that's when he sort of moved down to the Central Belt, and he sort of was living with you and a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah,
Tom had competed at the UK Strongest Man, and he was talking about coming down to Glasgow. And then he's like, trying to find a place. Hey, can you, let me know where would be good to stay? Like, if you're competing in strongman, just stay with me. Mm-hmm. And that's where that came from. That's how we became friends, and then that's how I got linked in with you guys.
Yeah.
To move into like a USA origin, it was just a case of when I would go over here, then it was moving in towards becoming a sponsored athlete with you guys, and then one day Pete asked me if I wanted to sell some stuff, and then here we are.
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously that's a long time ago now, but at the time I remember Pete mentioned to me, we've got this guy, Tom's got this friend in America. And, my first thing was, okay, well, he's with Tom, is like, can we trust this guy? Is he a good guy? Because I think that was more important at the time when I was doing business. Is he a good guy, and can we trust him? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, Tom vouches for him. So I said, okay, well, let's give it a go. At the time, I wasn't thinking so much about expanding worldwide and, dominating everywhere with Cerberus and all the rest of it. But I liked the idea of growing the brand. I saw it as progression. Was moving forward. It was, I really enjoyed as well when you go to a different gym and you see some random dude using some Cerberus gear. And I think you almost, well, especially in the strongman world, you struggle to find anywhere gym these days where there's not one guy is not wearing at least one Cerberus product.
Yeah, I don't think any of us realized what it was going to become. I don't think there was ever a part of our head that sort of was like, oh yeah, like this is what we're aiming for. There was never, at least in my mind, there was never a thought of it becoming what it is now.
For sure. So ironically, when I moved to Romania about a year, just over a year ago now, and the gym I train in now is very much a sort of very similar to the Forge gym back in sort of 2012, where it's very, very basic and, backwater, so to speak. But the thing that really humbled me was not a single person in the gym was wearing Cerberus. And it was strange to have that feeling, and it sort of humbled me in the fact that there's still a long way to go. And, people might get it wrong the way I say that, in that, I want to see Cerberus everywhere. And it's not from a sort of ego or a, making money perspective. It's more a case of, we need Cerberus to be successful so we can fund the continuation of the growth of the sport, the athletes we support. It's very much, you introduced me earlier, you said the founding father of Cerberus. I think any sort of business owner or, anyone who's got any sort of responsibility for other people will understand. So for me, my big responsibility as who I am in the business is I've got a lot of people relying on me. And I don't mean it in a sort of basic manners, and I've got staff wages to pay, or, distributors to keep stocked. That's before you get into the product development side of things and, business development and all the rest of it. But we've got 20 factories under contract manufacturing to us. So all those staff rely on us. And a lot of those factories, a large majority of their orders are for us. So especially during COVID, that was a huge responsibility that I felt a lot of pressure to sort of, I felt an obligation to look after these guys as well as primarily from what I was talking about. So back, speaking of Donna and Luke and, athletes, we have got probably close to 200 athletes we support worldwide. Now, if something was to happen to us, that's 200 people who wouldn't have the same support.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the contests we sponsor, all the rest of it. There would be a huge hole left. And just from a paternal instinct as well as a sort of pride instinct, I never want to be in that position. So I understand that we have to keep on growing in order to fulfill these obligations. And the reason we have to keep on growing is a cage we've made for ourselves, because our products are so good. As I said, with like those dual ply elbow sleeves and knee sleeves, I'm still on my original pair. And that's 11, 12 years later.
Yeah.
So, if we're not making products that people renew on an annual basis, you buy an appliance these days, 1 month after warranty, you almost expect it to blow up.
Yep.
Same with a car. Cars these days, you're lucky if they just make the warranty period and you start to have problems. So, and sometimes, as you probably know, they time it wrong and you have problems during the warranty period. So this is a cage we've made for ourselves where the products are so good because we've used old-fashioned values where we use the stuff ourselves. It has to be the best.
Yeah.
We don't make things for a price point. We make things, listen, I want to make something that's the best. What is the best material to make this? And okay, right, that's the best material, but then we don't put it together with cheap, crappy thread. We use the best. We use the best of everything to make the best product. I sleep super well. I didn't sleep well last night, but I sleep super well knowing that our ethos of the business is correct. We are making good stuff that people can rely on. By the same token, a lot of people rely on us to keep that train moving. So when we talk about expansion and growth and all the rest of it, we're not talking about expansion and growth of profits and bottom lines and corporate metrics and all this crap. We're talking about we need to keep growing so that people use our stuff even in a sustainable way, that it's stuff you don't need to replace, stuff that's got fully backed by warranties if they need it. They've got the support. They've got the pre-sale buying advice from us as well, because everybody involved in Cerberus globally is in the industry. They know what they're talking about, and that was an important thing when we started a partnership, Ken, is that you were compared to Strongman. You've walked the walk. You're not some dude that watches Strongman at Christmas time and is suddenly an expert. You have walked the walk. You've been involved in these shows. You've competed at the shows. You know what the kit's supposed to do. So when someone comes to you and asks, right, Ken, which elbow sleeve should I be wearing? And you are fully qualified to give those people the best advice. People we don't have people in call centers selling stuff, based off a script. This is real world life experiences that we're sort of passing forward to our customers, and that's a very fulfilling part of the business
massively.
as well.
Yeah.
Because the nice thing about old-fashioned businesses like ours is it's based on the people, and a lot of our customers, we speak to them a lot in person at events and things like that, and it's quite nice in a way, because you get to know a lot of them and you see them once a year at XYZ event, and you sort of, how's it going? How's the training? Last time you mentioned this, blah, 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 blah. So it's nice to have that. It's nice to be part of something like that. And the nice thing about Cerberus is I feel like I'm part of something bigger than me.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
Part of something bigger than me. We're building a legacy in this brand. We're improving the sport. We're creating opportunities. We are making fantastic products, and we're sort of having, obviously the stressful days, but we're sort of having a lot of fun doing it.
No, there's a hell of a lot of stress, but there's a hell of a lot of fun at the same time.
Yeah. So I really feel like we are making a difference. So yeah, it's a great place to be. It's a great place to be. Like you say, very stressful, a lot of responsibility. A lot of people don't realize a lot of what goes on behind the scenes of how difficult it was to get to the point that we are today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know all your struggles over the years, but even from head office, it's we have had some pretty stressful times at the best of it, and I mean, if we just talk about the most recent one, a lot of any business that's gone through COVID deserves a lot of respect in my eyes. It was an intensely stressful time for me personally, in terms of we had worked so hard to get things to where they were. We had finally reached a point where people knew who we were. We were getting some love back, getting some support. We were starting to make some money that we could reinvested, and we were making a difference. We'd made all these promises, and we signed all these contracts to support a bunch of shows. And I'd also taken some massive loans out just before COVID hit. So when it all went wrong, I was super stressed. I cannot think of a more stressful time in my life. And I've been in business, oh God, what was it now? Probably 23 years, I would say. I've been in business 23 years, and I've been through every stressful, situation you could possibly imagine. But, the COVID one threw us all for a six. However, looking at the positive of that, I would say now that I deal with stress in a much different manner than I used to.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah.
Big time. So I'm a lot less phased now, because when you've been through such a traumatic experience, you can apply this to loads of other different situations. In retrospect, things that crop up, little blips in your life, seem really insignificant. And I sort of, I sort of over the years, I'd seen other people, be unflappable in certain situations. And you just watch these people and you're like, why are you not stressing? Why are you not freaking out? What's wrong with you? And you almost think, does this guy not care or something like that? And it's not so much that they don't care. It's just that if there's something you cannot change yourself, you do well to stress less about it, because stress about the things that you can change. And I remember my brother, on a personal anecdote, my brother, who lives in Australia now, he used to say, look, I'm a control freak, speaking about himself. I'm actually also a control freak, but anyway. He said, look, I'm a control freak because why would you not want to control every aspect of outcome that you have direct influence over than leave it all to chance? So if you've got 10 parameters and you can control over 7, make sure you're on top of those 7, because then you've only got a 30% chance of things going wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that make me think. And as a person, I've developed, bit of a hard shell from a lot of these experiences. But fortunately, not to go down too much of a depressing rabbit hole, but we made it through COVID, which is great. And directly into the next crisis, unfortunately. But anything that comes up now is not really, a big deal, so to speak, because we've been through that.
So I know there's been talk at times of confusion between confusion amongst athletes and customers and stuff like that, of like the structure of the business and where does Ken and Cerberus USA fit into the structure of, I guess, a corporate structure, but also like the bigger picture. So talk about that. Like obviously you're like head of the the tree, so to speak.
Yeah. So basically the business that's registered in the UK. In the UK, I'm a managing director. In the USA, you'd call it CEO. In terms of structure, so I'll use you as an example. Every distributor is their own business. So, CERBERUS Strength USA is your business. We've got a distributor agreement with you. So we supply you with all the stock, and you run everything as your own business. And I think that's a much more ethical way to run a global network of businesses and a global brand, where every person in the different geographical regions is running their own business. Because the success in the USA for me and Cerberus is based on your success.
Yeah.
And, I don't believe in, setting up shop somewhere where we've just got a warehouse and we're just, posting out stuff, and, it's very impersonal, and, you're sending customer service emails to a different time zone and all that type of stuff. I don't like that. I like a local experience everywhere we've got a presence. And, in the USA, that is you. And I think you running your own business is going to grow you personally. And it's the best thing. And it's quite difficult to say, because obviously I could make more money if I didn't have you.
Yeah.
And, we just set up some sort of third-party system here. But the company wouldn't be as successful.
No, I think the biggest thing about Cerberus compared to other strength equipment companies is that you've got somebody who's involved in the sport, spearheading efforts in that area. And then it's like, you go to a contest and it's like, you can speak to them, you can whatever, same as you were saying earlier. Plus, I think that it helps. I think it helps target things more specifically for that area of operation. Like things in the US are vastly different from some things in the UK, and that's been a struggle for us too. That's been a learning curve all the time, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point you mentioned there. Yes, yeah, it's definitely part of that localized experience where, you know, the US market is very different to the UK, which would be very different to the market in Germany or France or anything like that. So, or Australia even. So yeah, no, you've hit the nail on the head there, and that's why I think is nice about here, and also the terms of the sort of athletes and the shows you support here. You know, you've got your ear on the ground. You know who needs the support and who doesn't. You know, so the decisions made here are a lot more sort of acute than what we could make.
Yeah.
You know, in some ivory tower in the UK. So yeah, no, that is a very good point. And speaking of that, sort of being involved at that sort of on that ground level, it's very frustrating to see when you see other brands sort of just coming in to make money, but not providing that experience or giving back in any sort of way. So that's another of the challenges we face in terms of not being a cutthroat business, because, you know, I'm not in Cerberus for the money. I don't need to be in Cerberus for the money. So I'm doing it as a passion. It's my passion to be involved in Cerberus. And like I said, when you're involved in something larger than yourself, and I'll use a very simple example. So for those people who have children, they'll understand what I mean. Once you've got something that's bigger than yourself, so when you have kids, your life totally changes, and the future of your bloodline, the future of, you know, you've got an influence and responsibility to look after that child. And then that child's going to supersede you one day. You know, that child's going to continue your legacy. Everything you've taught that child and the guidance you've given it will continue on. And I feel the same with Cerberus. You know, long after I'm dead and buried, long after all of us are gone, there'll be something, Cerberus will still continue in some form. And our responsibility is to make sure it continues in the same sort of ethos that we've set up, that we're currently running it in. You know, I never want it to be some sort of corporate super brand where, you know, it's all about, you know, numbers and money, and it'll never be publicly listed or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
It'll all be, you know, closed loop. So, you know, the direct responsibility of CERBERUS USA will always be yours. You know, I think when you've got shareholders and you've got a responsibility to them, and they're sort of saying, right, we're not making enough money, you need to increase your price, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. I think that's when you've lost all credibility as a business.
Yeah. What's been some of the challenges that you feel we've faced having that different business model? You know, like instead of, you know, it's just been a case of, hey, we've got an office here, you know, having people running it. Like, what's been the biggest challenge with that, you feel?
Part of the challenge of running Cerberus the way we do is we're nice guys. And
for the most part.
Yeah. Relatively speaking. And part of the challenge of being a nice guy is, you know, nice guys finish last, but the challenge of being a nice guy is you don't rule necessarily with an iron fist. Okay. So when you're in situations where other brands are trying to shit on you, so to speak, you know, you are less inclined, you know, you're just kind of inclined to turn the other cheek or just continue focus on yourselves, blah, 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 blah. Whereas, you know, we've had opportunities where we could have, you know, frozen out other brands, you know, got other brands to cover up their logos and stuff like that. I don't want to be involved in any of that shit. You know, this whole trying to tear down other brands to make yourself look good, or, you know, so only your logo is shown on TV, all that crap. I really don't want to get involved in that. Those are some bullshit politics that I don't want to. I want to be like, people buy Cerberus because Cerberus is the best, you know. And when you've got that sort of confidence, it's a good place to be. And like I say, it's great to be able to sleep at night. However, the challenge with that is it doesn't. You know, that's a very long-term strategy. You know, we have to outlast for that to become a reality.
Yeah.
But in the short term, you've got all sort of other, you know, brands and, you know, political allegiances of contests and promoters and things like that who aren't necessarily looking at things the way we are, and they're just sort of looking at short-term gain, or look, I've just got to get the show covered this year. Who cares? Next year I worry about it again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of short-sighted decisions being made in the industry, which is very frustrating to watch from someone who is here for the long term. So that is definitely a challenge, and you can apply that to a lot of different things. But yeah, being the nice guys isn't necessarily the best for business, but long term, I believe it's the correct way to be.
Yeah. So in terms of long-term plans, obviously we touched upon it a little bit, where we want to create a legacy with Cerberus where it's around for a long, long time. What do you see? Like, where do you see us going? Like, obviously, it's always going to be continual product development. What else do you see as the key sort of things that we're aiming for from a brand standpoint?
Well, basically, I would like Cerberus to continue to be an integral part of the Strongman community. I see us not necessarily as, I wouldn't call us a sponsor, so to speak, even though technically we are a sponsor of certain things. I see us more as investing in the sport. We're investing in the long-term, not only growth, but survival of the sport. In terms of the product side of things, we've got quite a few products in the pipeline. People don't realize how long it takes to develop a product develop a product correctly, should I say. And we've got a lot of stuff. So we've got a range, and we've got a range on our sort of whiteboard of what we want to release. Where, as I suppose, all relatively speaking, that's what we want to release, and then we'll be happy that we've got enough of a range. Obviously, it's going to change once we do that, but we want to be at a certain point of our products. We want to be a sort of one-stop shop for Strongman.
Yeah,
we want someone to go and buy all the consumables from us, and all the sportive gear, and then eventually all their equipment too. So. And I think that would be, I'd be very happy once we've reached that point, and that we've I won't say we've made it, guys, but
I know what you mean.
We're at a happy point now. Now we're actually how it actually feels like we're a Strongman brand.
Yes.
So that's where I'd like to be in terms of product, in terms of investing in industry. We've got a lot of ideas that I can't really speak about at the moment, but we are really going to be investing into the sport even more than we have previously. As I say, the responsibility is obviously keeping the brand growing in order for us to do that. And that is a nice thing. I think I'd like customers to understand the connect between them supporting and buying stuff from us to us being able to reinvest that money back into the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is a great connect that we've got. And like I say, because we're not in it for the money, we're a lot more generous with our reinvestment than a company that is about the money would be. So we've got a lot of things we're going to be doing in terms of leveraging all the contacts we've made over the past 13 years, and pulling on them to get more, pulling on their expertise on how we can keep the sport moving forward. And just in terms of that, I'll go back to that when I mentioned Donna Moore and the female side of sport. What a lot of people don't realize is behind the scenes. That's what I say. It's very difficult. If I wish you weren't so busy and that we could sort of lift the veil on the stuff we do behind the scenes, because I think it'd be quite interesting for people to see what we actually do. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, we speak quite regularly to a lot of the promoters. We speak a lot to sort of people in the federations and behind the scenes and things. And I'll use Donna Moore as an example in that we've been campaigning for opportunities for women in the sport ever since we started. And only in the last few years, we've sort of seen things sort of take off on the women's side of things, which is fantastic. But a lot of people have jumped up and sort of tried to take credit for that. And, you know, I'm not the type of guy that's like, look, we're, you know, this is thanks to us or anything like that. And it you know, it's only partially thanks to us. You know, I'm not going to take full credit or anything like that. But, you know, I remember promoters laughing in my face when I said, listen, man, you've got to, I think people will enjoy to see a woman's side of the sport. And I think we should either run a ladies comp concurrently with us, or we should need to, you know, let's do something, because we've got the athletes. You know, I've got all these female athletes I sponsor, and the most frustrating thing is they don't have opportunities to do stuff. So, you know, we're, as a lot of us athletes will realize, you know, when we sponsor an athlete, we, you know, we're almost like a media arm of that athlete. So if you go onto any of our news, our social media feeds, we feature our athletes very heavily, and we try and promote them, and we try and push them forward and sort of elevate their exposure. And it's very frustrating when we're doing that for all male athletes, and then very occasionally, when, you know, we could say, oh, this female athlete has done this show, you know, this is how she did, you know, congratulations, all the rest of it. And, you know, it wasn't that long ago where people were laughing in my face when I would suggest this, and I sort of say, listen, you know, from a selfish perspective, I'm looking for opportunities for my athletes, because I want exposure for them, and I've got a responsibility to them, and I want to see them do well. But on the whole, the sport needs more opportunities for women, which is why, you know, for those who've noticed, pretty much all the females and the female side of the sport are sponsored by us. And the reason for that is because we talent picked them before there was the scene that it is now. Yeah. You know, and they've been loyal to us. So if you're watching this, ladies, thank you very much. And yeah, so that's just one aspect of the influence we've got behind the scenes, where we're looking at this long-term plan of, you know, where the sport needs to get to, and, you know, we're doing what we can.
No, I think you're completely right, and that's been the cool thing to be a part of in terms of being the owner of the brand in the US, is being able to push things forward for not even just the females, but every athlete, you know, like, but specifically the female side of stuff. It's been like, even just from moving over here, you know, like I moved over 10 years ago. The growth of the sport for females is absolutely ridiculous, and I say it constantly with people, whether it's on here or whether it's just, you know, in talking in personal conversations. Like the female side of the sport is ridiculous. It's expanding at an ever accelerating rate, which is really cool to be a part of, and even cooler to be a part of in a sense that we can actually help support that stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of great to watch, like a proud father, so to speak.
It sounds a little bit silly, but at the same time, that's what it is. You know, it's like being able to actually have I don't want to say an influence, but at the same time, it is an influence. But it's being able to have a part in that development.
It's very difficult. Yeah, it's difficult when we're busy trying to grow the brand, and it's not very often we stop to smell the roses, Kane.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I would say, you know, if you were to ask me one of my flaws, that'd probably be one of the things where, you know, I'm so focused on pushing forwards that I don't ever stop to, you know, smell the roses. Look. I don't even look at what we've achieved so far, and it's, you know, credit where it's due. You know, for yourself and all the other guys involved. We do good work behind the scenes, and we are very much a positive influence on the sport, which I'm very proud of. Yeah. And yeah, we don't often, if ever, get credit for it, but it's nice to see. It's nice to see.
Yeah, no, I get it. And that's the thing, like for me, in terms of like smelling the roses and you know, all that sort of stuff, I do the same thing. You know, I get so focused on, okay, what do we need to do today, whether it's social media stuff, podcast stuff, you know, emails to customers, whatever, that I never actually sit back and be like, oh shit, you know, like the business is actually doing okay. We're able to do this and this and this. You know, it's like, it's nice to be able to take at the end of the year, like look back and be like, okay, well, we spent this much on contest sponsorships this year. Like we had a positive influence on this many contests, and then from that, this many athletes. Conversely, it's for me at least, it's a problem of, because I'm always wanting to push forward. If I have, and I say this constantly, that if I have a day where I'm like, oh, workload isn't crazy today, I get all my work done. And I've done it in 6 hours because I'm so used to doing really, really long days. Like previously, before I had warehouse manager and social media people and stuff like that I'm, a massive flaw of mine is like feeling like I'm lazy, But I think that comes with wanting to push everything forward all the time.
Yeah, for sure. It's I think it comes with a lifetime of struggle as well, Ken. When you're used to struggling and you're used to a hard slog, when you have an easy day, it's almost like a survivor's guilt.
I think that's probably actually exactly it. Like you're so used to trying to push forward, or I think it comes from being an athlete as well. I think a lot of athletes have that too, where it's a case of like they're always trying to become a better athlete. That to have that sort of relaxation type of thing, it throws everything off. So I know we're coming up to the end of the podcast.
Before you go, I just want to touch upon that. Just the point we mentioned earlier about how everyone involved in the company is a good guy and a nice. I think that's so important these days, because when I judge, I don't know if I read this somewhere years ago, but when I judge a business, I'll look at who's behind it. And so, when you judge a supermarket, you're not judging the checkout operator. You're judging who owns the business and what are they up to, and where do they align. And I think that's that people power which I try to push with Cerberus, where everyone's involved who's involved in the greater ethos of Cerberus, is a good guy, is involved in things, and that's a great feeling, because I've seen other brands that I don't particularly like, to be honest, and then someone will say, oh, but so and so is a really nice guy, and they'll be talking about someone who's on the ground level. I'm like, yeah, that's a really nice guy, but look at who owns the business. If that guy's a total dick, as they say, shit always rolls downhill. So that's part of the responsibility, I guess, that you have and I have, of being at the top of that pyramid, where you've got to be the best you can be, and push everything out through the business. I've probably not worded that particularly well. I probably sound like an idiot, but I think you kind of get what I'm trying to say.
No, I get what you mean. That's the thing. I think it's a whole deal of lead by example.
Yes, lead by example.
That's the best way to put it.
Yes.
It's my warehouse manager Devin just hit his 3-year anniversary of being working here, which I'm a little bit shocked that it's 3 years, because I still remember his first day and I'm like, how the hell is that amount of time gone already? But it's being a good person, being a good and also being involved in the sport helps massively, because even yesterday, like my brother's over right now for the wedding, came up here, we stopped in the warehouse, did some bits and pieces, and then went and had like a little brotherly day. And the phone rang. Devin answers the phone and he spends 6-7 minutes talking to a customer about his belt and his knee sleeves, and how this should be, customers have an issue putting the competition sleeves on because they're so stiff. Well, you should try this technique and try that, and it shouldn't feel like this. And it's just being able to have somebody in-house who knows what it's supposed to be and is able to convey that in a positive manner versus, sorry, tough shit. There's many brands that do that, where it's a case of warranty isn't upheld, or, oh, well, you do this, and it just doesn't lead to a good feeling, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if we were to summarize it, you've got to stand behind your products.
Yeah.
And you've got to stand behind your people too. So, everyone who works in the business needs to treat people the way that you'd expect to be treated.
Yeah, 100%.
The customer experience that that we would
I
expect.
feel that's always been one of our primary concerns is what does the customer experience. Is it positive? Is it negative? How can we improve it? And for me, even, you know, one thing I always got a massive kick from when I was doing the order side of stuff, and it still does it today. But when it was like the lower volume, and I was sitting doing whatever, I'd refresh the computer every half hour, and there's a new order. You know, if it came in a half hour ago or it came in 2 minutes ago, it got processed. And I remember people for years would be like, I don't understand how this got processed so quickly. I'm like, I don't know, just like we just do it. That's the experience I want you to have. Is I want you to be like, holy shit, I just placed that order like 5 minutes ago and it's already processed. Wow. You know, that gives me a lot of satisfaction. And I think it rolls downhill with everybody else, like being able to provide that positive customer experience.
For sure. Yeah. That's I don't know if top-down management is the word for it. Probably not. But yeah, it's that sort of old-fashioned, you know, be who you want to be type of
100%
thing. You know?
So just before we wrap up, are there any products that you can give away? I obviously know what's coming up. Is there anything you can mention as a little sneak peek to anybody?
Well, it's not. Probably the only one I could mention is our deadlift suits. We've been testing deadlift suits, but that's out in the open now. So let me think if there's any other. There's other products we're working on. I'm just trying to think what I could release. No, nothing else at the moment. The reason I'm so canny about the stuff, Ken, is because I don't know. We've got so many eyes on us, and I don't want to give anyone else, you know, the jump on what we do.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I get it.
So, and also, I've been caught in this in the past where we've sort of said, I'm going to release X, Y, and Z. And then the customers hold you to account to that. They're like, when is it going to be released? When is it going to be released? When is it going to be released? And I touched on this earlier where it's, you know, we like to take the proper time to do a product properly. So, you know, I think some of the products have been up to 4 years.
Yeah, I think the back support.
Yeah, back support was
a very long time.
Yes. Our gym bags were a very long time as well.
Yeah, the bars. It's always been
everything's been a very long time.
Everything's been a long time.
Yeah.
Well, people will just have to wait and see what's to come.
But listen, we keep on doing what we're currently doing, and one of the nice things that we do is we improve our current products.
Yeah,
we improve our current products. So, you know, there's some new gym bag stuff coming actually. That'll be coming down the line, and just our current products. We just released our new triple ply deadlift belt. That's the best it's ever been. Now it is just amazing. The you can lock it on so tight now. That was the only thing that I would ever have. If I could improve our previous one, was I couldn't quite lock it tight enough. It was personal preference, but I just wanted to lock it a bit tighter, and I think Peter was the same. And now we've nailed it with this new buckle. Perfect. But while we're doing that, while we're changing the buckle, let's look at everything else at the same time. So we've looked at the webbing, we looked at the strapping, everything like that. So everything we do, because we've got so much control over every aspect of the business, you know, and because we love the design stuff so much, if there's something we can improve in the next production run, we'll do it. Yeah, no, so for anyone watching this, you know, if there's, you know, by all means, all your suggestions are always welcomed. You know, some companies don't like to be stuff suggested to, but we do, because, you know, if there's a valid suggestion, we'll definitely implement it in our next product. And
that's something that I think we've nurtured that by giving the customer experience that we do, and that's something that, I mean, hell, we've had conversations where I've, you know, said, hey, got this email, or hey, I was talking to this person at this contest. They've got this feedback for whatever product, and it's always been something that we've sat and discussed at length and tried to either implement or like look into other ways we can do it or improve to increase that or improve that that experience for the customer.
Yeah, and on that front, that's part of the challenges of a global business is that the demands of certain products are different in different climates as well.
Well, it's like the tacky. Look at the tacky, for instance. Like you can have a tacky in the UK, which is fantastic. You bring it over here, works a bit less. Bring it to Australia, it doesn't work at all. You know, and that's been something that you've had to figure that out as well. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's always that improvement, and I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, yeah, I'm never going to relax and sit on my hands, but yeah, we're doing good, Ken.
Yeah,
we're doing good. So yeah, no. While we're on the podcast, I'd just like to thank our customers for those who support us, and you guys are part of what we do, because if people weren't buying stuff from us, we couldn't invest in all these different things that we do. So and I strongly believe that our customers do understand what we're all about and what we're trying to achieve. So thank you very much.
No, totally agree. Well, let's wrap it up there. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
No
and
worries.
yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
For sure, as a married man.
Yeah, I know, right? Thanks, Cal.
Yeah, okay, dude. Cheers.
Cheers.